What is up? Welcome to this week's episode of the Vanflip podcast. Today we are joined by Mikael of Dark Tranquillity, but also a long list of other bands that he's been a part of in the past, and currently also in the Halo Effect and uh, Grand Cadaver. So
Yep.
we'll talk about a little bit of everything, but right now,
Sure.
Dark Tranquillity is the main focus. You got a new album coming out, End Time Signals.
Yes, I am. It's exciting times, and yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. This
Yeah,
is cool. Um,
very busy guy. 13th album overall for this particular band, but
True. Feels weird though, but yeah, apparently that is where we are right now.
yeah. Is it difficult to kind of like write like the 13th album for, you guys kind of are one of the bands that is listed as one of the creators or purveyors of the Swedish metal, melodic death metal scene. So like, is it hard to kind of maintain, that status with doing 13 albums over the course of almost 30 plus years at this point?
It doesn't get any easier, that's for sure. It, I mean, yeah, it's important, of course, to kind of maintain what we kind of set out to do. It's important to make sure that it still has the quality that we're looking for, that every album is better than the last, and that we come up with something new and exciting and interesting and like a different take on our genre or what have you. And yeah, it certainly does not get easier, but I think we found a way to kind of, you know, see things from a different perspective with each album,
Mm.
or at least try to, or start from a new place, or sometimes change things up in the lineup. But it has to feel new and interesting. Otherwise, there's no point. And then we'll just wait. We go for another tour, and then we come back, and then we can kind of recalibrate and rethink and kind of start off in a way that feels new. But yeah, it's. Um, you go through these phases, right? Where when you're writing, you hear the songs, and I start writing lyrics, and I go, "Wow, this feels good." Like I love this song, and I have a good vibe. It's gonna be
Mhm.
cool. But then you wake up in the next morning or later that day, and you read through what you've written, and you go like, "Haven't I written exactly the same thing before 2 million times?" Because that's how it feels all of a sudden. And then you go into this kind of like, oh, why are we doing this? Like, because it's just repeating ourselves. But then realize that maybe you're not, but it's just one of those uh, phases that you go through in any kind of creative endeavor, I suppose. But it's so yeah, it's rough. It's a lot of ups and downs in order to kind of to get where we think we know where we're going.
Yeah.
but but I
Be-
think more than anything, it's about kind of trusting the process, trusting each other, knowing that if the four or five of us or six of us or whoever is writing at the time can agree that this is going to be cool, like we all love what we're doing here, then it's going to be good. But it's that self doubt is maybe uh, a Scandinavian trait. Maybe it's something that a lot of my friends up here have and feel similar to. So, but yeah, but and that's part of the process, right? It's part of coming up with something new, and again, yeah, it absolutely just gets harder with every album, but it's still the reward is so much greater because of it,
Mhm.
right? So even though it takes a longer time, or you work on something of way longer, uh, if you manage to kind of achieve what you set out to do, then that reward is just amazing,
Yeah.
and even more so than maybe some of the earlier albums, just because you know how more difficult it was this time around.
Yeah. Another thing that I was curious about is being one of like the innovators of a genre and whatnot, and like you just said, it being kind of somewhat difficult to do better than the last album or not create the same as the previous albums or whatnot.
Yeah.
Being like such a main influence in a genre at this particular point, decades later, does it give you kind of a little bit of a freedom to do and try things differently that maybe because at this point, I'm sure you're influenced by other bands with that have come up in the genre in general. So, do you, is it? I don't want to say easier because we just talked about it being a little bit difficult, but
Yeah.
does it get, is it easier to maybe expand and try different things for the genre that maybe, a band of less stature or less notoriety or hasn't been around as long can do or try?
I guess like in the beginning we didn't care at all because we didn't really know that death metal and melodic death metal was even a genre. We just tried our best to come up with something that we felt was missing in the scene or felt good. Um, then maybe you try hard to kind of not fit in, but at least like makes the most of that idea that we had. And nowadays, I think the freedom comes from having a loyal fan base and kind of knowing that we can get away with weirder things, like
Yeah.
slower songs or more mellow stuff or even faster stuff. Like just that we can kind of do anything and people are along with us on that journey. And that's really cool. And yeah, I don't feel like necessarily that we are a band that people get influenced by in the same way as maybe what happened in the mid 90s.
Mm.
So that doesn't really cross my mind. I'm hoping that people take from it that you can do whatever you want, or you should just keep working on being like an original band and having a original sound, because that's the most important thing to me. And if we can maintain it but still kind of innovate within our genre or our style of music, that's my favorite thing to do, like knowing that we can pull off things within the kind of rules that we set for ourselves all those years ago. But I don't know, like it we feel like we can do anything actually. Most of the time we at least we try to have that feeling, that it's like, hey, it's fine, we can pull it off. It's going to be cool regardless. And no, actually, like sometimes we start an album process and we go nuts and we say like, oh, it's going to be this and that and it's going to be so different. But then of course when you start working on it and you kind of like work through it, and eventually it sounds like a Dark Tranquillity album anyway. No matter how far you're trying to get away with it
Well, yeah,
from it.
technically, it's going to always be a Dark Tranquillity album, but
Sure.
that's what I was curious about, just because, again, there's only so I don't know if there's only so many ideas, but I'm sure like over the last couple years of just making music, not only in this particular group, but obviously you're in a part of other groups, it's got to
Yeah.
be kind of difficult to kind of navigate those waters in general. And again, juggling, you're in multiple groups currently right now, so I mean it's
Yeah.
probably hard to kind of keep those separate in your head, at a time, because it seems like you would be working on an album for each band at some point in the same, like they have to overlap a little bit, so it must be difficult to kind of like keep them separate. Or is it easier just to kind of think of it as song by song?
No, but no, it's mostly like it's one process after the other, kind of like a for instance, like we went from Moment, our last Dark Tranquillity album, and then immediately after I started the Halo Effect album, and that was first 9 months of recording, and then another 6 months,
Mm.
and then we did Grand Cadaver. That was a week in the studio, and so yeah, it's very much separated in my mind at least. And you're working with totally different people and different circumstances, different studios, and all that stuff. So it's not that bad, but yeah, I mean, I have to juggle a lot of things, and there's a lot of just logistics, basically,
Yeah.
just getting from one festival to the other, and from one tour to the other. So that's I think that's the hardest part actually. And
Yeah. Seems like a whole
there,
lot.
there have been times where I've told myself that maybe I said yes to a few too many things.
I'm under the assumption that I've lived my life kind of like, I don't know if you've ever watched that Jim Carrey movie Yes Man, where he just says yes to
Yeah.
everything. I
Yeah.
kind of lived. I don't know if I have watched that and then it changed something in my head, but I kind of realized down the line when I was older, that I did take a lot of I do take a lot of opportunities that just come my way, because I like to see out, how that plays out in general for the
Yeah.
experience or the whatever it is. So it's
Yeah.
probably better that you're doing a couple different bands, because you might be, bored if you're only doing the one. You seem like you may need to be constantly doing something or constantly engaged in a challenge.
maybe, I really haven't been before, and I think I just decided one day, and it was kind of like in 19, I think I decided kind of like, yeah, I want to focus on making this DT album, and uh, I've rebuilt a little bit my home studio and made sure that okay, now I can really fully focus on this album and nothing else, and it was so liberating to not do anything else. I kind of quit a day job that I had, and I focused 100% on just writing, and then and I just love the process of it. I love kind of just being more kind of engaged in writing, and then at the same time, the idea started to grow that we could do something with the Halo effect, and I was kind of like, yeah, this is actually fun. And now I'm just sitting here. I already finished all the songs for the DT album, so now I can move on to something else. And so and I realized that, or I decided to actually say yes to things because it was fun. And I ended up doing video game soundtracks, and
Mm.
I guested on a lot of albums, and it was just like, oh, let's do it. Let's make the most out of this. And also, of course, during the pandemic, it was easy to just say yes to everything because there was nothing on the calendar, and
Yeah.
like there was nothing coming up. So it made it much easier. And I'm really happy that I did because yeah, for the first 30 years of our career, basically, I said like, yeah, it would be great, it would be awesome to form a band,
Mm.
while drinking beer late at night. And then the next day, it was like, yeah, of course, but I have no time.
Right.
There's no way we can actually do this, and nothing kind of comes of it. But now that I kind of went the other way, it turns out you do have time,
You can like yeah,
albeit
you create time.
somewhat limited time, but still.
Yeah, you like make your own time for things
Yeah,
that you kind of care about, which,
yeah,
you care about music, I guess. At some point you realize you can juggle it if you really wanted to.
yeah, it works.
When you're writing, when the band's writing, when Dark Tranquility is writing, do you
Yeah,
guys however the writing process is, because you were originally a guitar player very long time ago when the band was first
yes,
starting out and then moved
yeah.
over to vocals, do you have any input on like how the music part sounds, or do you just wait for it to be kind of like not polished but finished by the other guys and then you kind of write lyrics over top that, or how is the writing process for you guys or this album in general? I don't know if it's changed.
No, but mostly it's like that. Like we started working on something, and like for instance now, Johan and Martin wrote most of the songs, and then once we have like a semi finished demo, then I'll start getting into it, and I'll add some vocals to it or just some random stuff so that I have something to work with, and then we work slowly towards a finished song. But no, I don't write anything, but
Hmm.
I have a lot of uh, opinions about what I like and not don't like, and how I think we can improve the song in a way that kind of benefits vocals, of course, but also like how I feel it should sound. But it's mostly uh, Martin and Johan this time around, and it's always been like that, you know, um, regardless of who has written songs or whenever we have something almost there, then that's when I start writing lyrics and to kind of get into it, and then we can change a lot of things after that. But it's you come to a certain point where it's like, okay, this is yeah, it's getting there, and you get a vibe and you get a feeling for what you think will work, and then record demos and try it out, and then we listen to it endlessly, and eventually you go like, yeah, all right, cool, we can leave it and move on to the next song.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question: is when do you kind of realize a song is completed, or is it ever really completed, or do you just have it like the ability to be like, yeah, that's good enough for that particular thing. Let's move on to the next one.
I mean, and that may be, I mean, it's easy because it's easy to get lost in that because we
Mm-hmm.
have our own studio basically where we can spend as much time as we want. So of course, you go like, oh, we can do this again and make it better and never kind of in the way that it would never end. But I guess we have come to a play, come to enough. We have enough experience to know when it's good enough or when we can move on and kind of move on to the next instrument or the next track. But I mean, there have been many times where you just feel like, it's just not good enough. It's just not there, and you keep working, keep working, keep working. Um, but I think it's when we all come together where we can listen to it. We can sit in the studio and go like, "Yep, we got it. Like this is getting there." Like But sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
You just want to keep working because it's easier than to finish something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that 100%.
Yeah.
What happens to any of the material that maybe doesn't like that hits the cutting room floor for an album or whatever? Do you guys just reserve ideas, riffs, or lyrics for later on, or is it something that if it doesn't make this album, it doesn't make this album, and we kind of move on?
I know we've have done that in the past, kind of saved stuff and then kind of reused it. But it's mostly, if someone comes up with something and it doesn't really work, then that guy will keep it and maybe pull it out, when we start a new album. But nothing specific like that we keep in the studio. It's like, okay, this is going to be great for the next album because, yeah, I know a big part of us really wants to start fresh and not kind of. Uh, Use something that we worked on before. But of course, if there are bits and pieces here and there that you can actually use when you need it, then that's great, of course.
Yeah, you guys just played Hellfest over the last weekend. Well, this
Yes.
is the last weekend. This will come out either it might come out tomorrow or this next week. I don't know when this podcast exactly will come out, but
All right.
at this particular time for you and I, you played Hellfest this past weekend.
Yep.
That seems to be like one of the bigger European festivals for heavy music and metal and stuff like that, with a stacked lineup almost every damn year. How is it?
It's insane.
Yeah, how
It's
is it
insane.
playing there?
It's amazing. Like we played there. This was our fifth or sixth time, I think, and it really is incredible. Like it's the festival that they pay. I think there's no other festival like it, just because everything is kind of designed and so nowhere it's kind of like it's kind of like being in a metal Disneyland, where
Yeah.
everything is kind of made by designers and there are no logos anywhere. There are no kind of companies that come in and kind of sponsor the whole thing. There's nothing
Mm.
like that. Everything is made by Hellfest, and you're supposed to be in hell when you get there. There's fire everywhere, even though no matter what band, there's fires around you and from towers, and that it actually kind of surrounds the entire festival. And it is without a doubt, the coolest looking and the coolest vibe of any festival I've ever been to, and I've been to a few.
Yeah, I would assume so.
So I love it, and also it's cool. They have the two main stages with all kinds of bands, but then there are it's the death and black metal, it's the black metal stage that only has that kind of bands, and then there's kind of like a stoner rock, desert rock stage, and then there's a punk stage. So you can basically just stand at one stage and see everything there, and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
And so it's very very cool, the way they arranged it and how it's kind of built and conceived, and yeah, so it's one of the best things you can do. So if you ever want to just go to one European festival, that should be on the top of your list.
It is on the top of my list at some point. I definitely do have to make it over there. That way I can also say I went to the U.S. version of Hellfest, which was early 2000s hardcore metal, like in upstate New York. Or the one I went to was in New Jersey, but it started in upstate New York. And then
Okay.
I can say that I also went to the European Hellfest, and I can double dip.
Yep.
Those kind of lineups though are those festivals. I mean, because like it was over 200 plus bands, this particular 2004 edition. So it's got to seem as far, I don't know if it's the same for you, but for an attendee or for a fan that's coming to the show, God, it's got to be like a lot of, do I go see this band, this band, this band, or that band? Because we're all playing at the same time. And it's got to be hard to juggle all that. But do you run into that when I don't know how long you stay at these festivals. Maybe it's just the day that you're performing or whatnot. But do you have trouble like seeing who you want to see on that particular day because of that?
Of course, it's always like that. But I mean, normally they're programmed very well, so that bands kind of don't. It's not that much of a conflict or time conflict between the bands. So normally you can just go like, oh, I want to see this that band, and I see you see a couple of songs or the whole set, and then you move to the next. And so I've seen so much stuff at for Hellfest in particular, but every time we go to a festival, which is every weekend, one or two festivals. So I try to catch as much as I can. Sometimes you see nothing and you just play and you leave immediately, and that sucks. But sometimes we stay a couple of days just to see as much as possible. I think I saw like six whole shows, and we were only there for one day at Hellfest this year. So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
It was cool. So it's Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love the festival season. It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of early mornings and long days, but it's such a good time and meeting so many friends and seeing so many bands. It's truly a highlight of every year.
With festival season being in full swing for you guys, or well, for us too over here in America, but for Europe festival season, what is it about Europe and metal in general that it's so it seems much larger in general for that kind of area of the world, that continent, Europe or whatever, and
Yeah.
being one of the purveyors of a specific genre, Swedish death metal, like why is it that you think that metal is so popular over there?
I don't know. I mean, it has to be, like a yeah, rich history of bands doing this. A lot of fans. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, Europe is tiny compared to the States. Population wise, it's not that many people, but metal is strong. It's for sure, and there are new festivals popping up all the time. Like I like to think that I've been to most of them, but I definitely have not because there's new ones coming out every year. Some of them have been around forever. Some of them are just brand new, and it's cool because they all seem to work out. You can tell like some festivals are not really that well organized, and some are
Mm-hmm.
hellfest. But usually the passion is there. We played this festival in northern Spain last week called Coba Live, and it was the third time they had it. But the organizers told us that we only had it the first 2 years because we were saving up money so that we can pay you to come here. And so they were like super, super diehard fans. And I mean, yeah, it wasn't the biggest festival. It wasn't the most kind of well organized, but damn, it was passionate. They
Mm-hmm.
they doing everything to make sure that everybody there had a fantastic time and all the bands were happy. And I think sometimes that means more than the big um, kind of more corporate festivals.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a cool mix, and some weekends you can do like the biggest festival and one of the smallest ones, and then a totally random one that you never heard of in one weekend, and it's kind of crazy like that. But and they're all kind of it's mainland Europe, so it's not that far in between.
Right.
It's just a couple of hours flights. Um, I think that's really cool, and of course the differences are huge in between a Swedish festival to a Eastern European one or a Spanish one or Italian one, and it's all very different. But I'm glad we get to play a lot of them, and it's a different vibe, which
Mm-hmm.
is great. You're playing in front of it's not a regular headline show where you know kind of what to expect because you come into a city that you've been to and a venue you've been to, but playing in a festival that is kind of new but in a country that then that vibe is always kind of new and different, and I really love that. We're playing some festival in Italy. I never heard of it. Maybe it's brand new. I have no idea. I don't know what to expect. And we're playing there on Sunday, I think, and I'm really excited. Like it should be cool. And then we're playing a really kind of old classic rock house festival in Ballenstedt, Germany. That I've been to so many times. Well, that's going to be amazing too because I know all the guys who work there and work the festival. So I'm looking forward to that too. So it's yeah, but the weekends are, you know, it's crazy. You're always worried about equipment on flights.
Yeah, I
That
was going to ask if
just
you do you guys fly because you said you
yeah, we
flew. So like, do you fly or do you take? I mean, obviously you could take like a bus or something like that in
no
Europe and be okay with it, but you have so much
no, but
equipment. I would
there's
assume.
no time. We fly to every show,
Wow.
and so it's yeah. There's a lot of a lot of flights in a weekend or in a week. It's insane. But and yeah, this weekend we after Hellfest we got home or we went home on Friday early morning, landed in Amsterdam, and they said, "Yeah, your flight is canceled to Gothenburg," and we were like, okay, but we'll take the next flight in a couple of hours." Yeah, not so much. And when is the next flight? Tomorrow uh, at 11 o'clock at night. Like, oh, in more than 24 hours,
Right.
correct? And then it's like, okay, can we somewhere to stay? Like, do you have hotels? Ah, all fully booked. Like, you have to do that yourself.
Mm.
Fortunately, we were in Amsterdam, so that was nice, and we just got into town and we had a fantastic fucking party for 2 days. But
It's
but
a good little
things like
vacation.
that, things that can happen, and it's a bit of a mess, and
Yeah.
you lose luggage and gear and stuff like that. Fortunately, I mean it's very rare, but it does happen, and it's a constant kind of worry. Um, Last time we played Hellfest in 19, none of our gear came to France,
Wow.
and we were like, okay, we had guitars, and we had kind of our in-ear, headphones, and that was basically it. We're like, okay, that we have to cancel the show, and it's going to be the biggest show of the summer,
Right.
something that we always look forward to a lot, and but we managed to just borrow equipment from a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Like in 2 hours, we went from having nothing to everything that we needed, and we could pull it off, and it was actually a fantastic show. So it does work sometimes, but it could also have been a same festival, but none of our friends were there who have similar equipment that we have. So, and then we wouldn't have been able to do it. So
Yeah.
it's a constant worry. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of contingency plans probably in place for stuff like that if that happens. Because when you're traveling
Yeah,
on the airlines, like you said, there's cancellations and there's lost luggage and
yeah.
equipment. So it's got to be a little nervous and nerve wracking to do
Always.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never
Always.
know. You see it getting loaded on the plane, but you don't know if it's your stuff or if it's
We
coming
got
up
air
wrong.
checks on everything just to make sure that it's but it's still a bit of a mess. But
Well, at least you have the ability to do that now with air tags, so you can track it if you need to.
yeah,
Back in the day, that
yeah.
was almost near impossible.
I've had stuff just disappear that just never got returned. It's just like it's gone. Really? Like, how can you just lose something? But no,
I
apparently
don't know if it's
that's
technically
a
lost.
possibility.
It might not be lost every time. You know what I mean?
No, but just never get it back.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah,
Um, you said earlier, when you were kind of starting Dark Tranquility, is like one of the reasons was you guys or you felt that something was missing from death metal or metal or whatnot, and
yeah.
my curiosity was piqued at that point. Like, what do you guys feel was missing at that particular time?
I don't know. I don't know about missing, but when we decided to kind of start a band, like me and Nicholas, and we were like, okay, but what do we do? You know, and we realized that you know we loved American death metal. Florida scene, and like and all these amazing bands. From Kind of Corpse to Atheist
Hmm.
and Nocturnus and Obituary. Like, we love that. We love the brutality and the sound and everything about it. Like, but we also loved thrash from Germany and Creator and Sodom, Destruction, that kind of stuff. And we loved melodic stuff like Halloween and Blind Guardian
Mm.
and that kind of thing. But we weren't really that interested in writing about you know whatever horror movie we just saw, or
I can get that. I
something
understand. Yeah.
about grim ways to die or something like that. So our idea was to have that kind of intensity and the kind of the fierceness of American death metal together with the speed and kind of catchiness and aggression of German thrash, and but also having lyrics that made sense to us or had something to say, and also kind of the melodies from more kind of like power metal or speed metal
Mm.
bands. So that was the idea, and I remember when we recorded our first album, Skydancer, put it out, and a lot of my kind of death metal friends from town and from the scene in Sweden, they were like, "This is interesting. Like, how did what were you thinking here?" And we were like, "We just didn't want to be just another band, you know.
Right.
This is," and it took a while before we kind of got where we wanted to be, where we felt comfortable with it, and kind of incorporating melodies with black metal and death metal and thrash. But that's how we kind of rationalized our thinking or our kind of ambitions of
Mm.
what our music should be, and so it was interesting. And we had no ambitions to be anything else than just a band that played in my parents' garage, and hopefully could release a demo or an EP or an album at one point, but it wasn't much more than that. We just wanted to hang out and kind of entertain each other by writing cool music that we liked.
Yeah. I want to say, and I'm based in Florida. I live in Florida, so I was kind of around the area where death metal kind of like kind of spawned for the most
Yeah.
part here in Florida. But I will say that it my musical journey didn't take me. I mean, like even though it was nearby, I didn't really glob onto it at all because again, there's certain things like why is everything always about death and this that the other, and it just
Yeah.
at a younger age it didn't attract me like it should have probably.
Yeah.
But I will
Yeah.
say that like growing up listening to whether it's pop or just music that my parents were listening to that were like more vocal based, where
Yeah.
artists were singing and Celine Dion and all this other kind of
Yeah.
shit.
Mm.
When I started listening to bands in the late '90s, early 2000s, that's
Yeah.
melodic death metal or Swedish death metal was kind of like a really good intro for that because you weren't in the band at this particular time, but like Hammerfall was one of those bands too that I found on MTV2 or something like that, and that
Yeah.
was kind of cool because it was good vocals. Not good vocals, but like it was a different type of vocals, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
more singing, more melodic, and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then you also have the music behind it that's kind of like intricate and the Swedish death or the Swedish metal kind of vibe. And then that kind of just took me down a rabbit hole of all these other Swedish metal bands and death metal bands. And then as time goes on, I opened myself up a little bit more and more and more, and then you start checking out Cannibal Corpse and Obituary and all those guys that are
Yeah. Yeah.
deaf
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything like that from down the street here almost. So that was kind of a cool little pathway. And
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. Just every time I talk to someone who's you get a new kind of story of how you got into it. It's always different, like how you discovered extreme metal, or how it's either from someone's your friend's older brother or something like that who has some albums that just look fucking cool that you just want to listen to it, or you're hanging out with cool friends that are have brought a boombox, and you're listening to that. So it's always interesting. Like I love hearing about it because you'd eventually kind of you hear everything, and then you can actually like you can go to one of these European festivals and see all of those bands,
right.
all of those bands that you grew up with, plus all the new bands and everything in between, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I gotta mark my calendar for next. I mean, Hellfest has definitely been on the the list for the last couple of years, doing Lambgoat and whatnot. But I need to make it over there just to check out what the European festival scene is like in general, because I've done it here multiple times with multiple different areas of the country. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to compare the two, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it is a special vibe for sure. And some of the ones out in deeper parts of Germany are fascinating, just fascinating, just insane and super cool. And then you play the more of the city festivals that are a lot more sophisticated, I would say. And then looking forward to Summer Breeze. This is one I'm looking forward to right now, and that's one of our favorite festivals. And that's huge, and it's the middle of nowhere in Germany, but damn, it's big and incredible. But it's funny, like you can look at the list of bands, at a festival, and you go like, really, what year is it?
Especially nowadays, for sure. Nowadays, you can definitely do that. Yeah, because like I've been listening to heavy music for 20 plus years of my life. I turned 40 last year, so I got into it when I didn't have an older brother. I'm the oldest, so I was the one that was like finding music, and luckily that the internet was kind of just peaking at that, or starting to go off, and file sharing was the thing. So I was getting new music, but it wasn't until I started getting really deep into like looking up bands online where I would find like underground bands, and I started falling down those cracks. Then I would present those to my friends. I was kind of that guy that was giving my friends the new music, but not everything that I was listening to was like the heaviest or the coolest. It was just what I was finding,
Yeah.
So the journey is
It's a special feeling.
weird.
Like it's a special feeling, like finding something cool that you love and then sharing it with others. I love it to this day. Like whenever I find new bands, I go like, oh, come on, bring some friends over, listen to this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just exactly the same how I discovered music and shared music when I was 14 or 15.
Yeah.
It's a
So
great feeling.
you speaking of touring and doing the European festival, you guys are festival circuit. You guys are headed over here in the I don't want to say fall, but late summer, early fall. In September, you guys are coming over with Amorphous, and
Yeah.
you actually the support for that band is a guy or is a band that we've also had on the podcast, Fires in the Distance, which is kind
Oh,
of
cool.
like a
Yeah.
black metal melodic metal band that's
Yeah.
from New England or not New England, upstate New England and stuff.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I really like them, and they're really, really cool bands. I look forward to this a lot. Like it's going to be awesome. I've never seen them, so it should be and I think it will, work perfectly for that tour.
Yeah. How often do you guys make the trek overseas here? Is it like do you try to do it once a year, or do you just do it when album cycles come on, or is it just matter on the tour package that you're presented with?
I think, in general, I think we do two tours in America per album cycle.
Hmm.
So that means like one every other year, I think. Sometimes we've done more. I think we did 4 US tours, I think, for, what was it, Damage Done or something like that. Or, yeah. So it kind of depends. It's more difficult nowadays than it used to be, but we still love it. And the last one we did was right after the pandemic, and it was still kind of rough. I
Hmm.
remember, just in terms of people not being ready to go out. There were people, there were a lot of people actually who bought tickets but then didn't show.
Yeah.
That's rare. That never happens.
A lot of people probably
Um,
worried about coming out in public
yeah,
again at that
yeah,
particular
exactly.
point.
And
Yeah.
I get so, but it was strange to see. And also, we got into it. You get a tour bus, and then it turns out, oh yeah, that tour bus has been standing still for 2 years. And then it breaks down, and then you get another one, and then breaks down. And we ended up using 6 different buses on a 5-week tour.
Wow.
So what the hell?
Yeah.
That
Not even
was
a
rough.
not even a bus a week. You're just doing, you're running into the
Yeah,
ground every other week or every week.
yeah.
Um,
So I'm looking forward to this one being back to normal, hopefully.
yeah. Um, Busy man. I want to know how you juggle, all these projects you have going on right now. Like you said, you guys wrapped up the DT album, and that's coming out. Is it August 6th?
16th.
16th,
Yeah.
August 16th.
Yeah.
I almost had it.
Yeah.
Almost had it from memory. Didn't have to look it up, but I
Yeah.
was 10 days off. But you guys, your other band, your other project, the Halo Effect, also had an album
Yeah.
come out a couple years ago, and you kind of sounded like you were moving on to that album. Maybe the process was, moving on to that. How long does it take for you to switch gears? Like, do you know what I mean, to write from one group to the other group, or is it different, or do you just,
It's different enough so that I don't have to kind of reset or anything like that. It's just a matter of like, because lyrically it's very different. I think musically it's pretty different as well. So it's very easy to write for the Halo Effect just because it's new, right? And it's old friends that I know inside and out, like, and I know exactly what kind of music will come, and I kind of know what direction Nicholas is going or Jesper is going all the time. So it's easy to write for it, and also it's the first album, right, or the second album in this case. But so everything is still kind of new, so I don't have to worry about all the 35 years of history that we have with DT. Where
yeah,
you have to think about like, have I done this before? So that's why it's easy and super fun and so we have a new album that it's been done. It's been ready for a year almost.
oh wow,
And so we started kind of promoting that and releasing singles and stuff like that in beginning of September, right after the DT album is out. So we don't want to,
overlap, yeah,
I don't want too much out at the same time. So it's like you can listen to the DT album first, and then you can start thinking about this one, and then it comes out earlier next year, and then and then we start touring with that. So it's for me, like, it's very different, and I can kind of write the songs at the same time, or within days of each other. It's not that bad, but normally we don't have to, because there's I'm done with the DT album, then go like, okay, cool, and relax a little bit, and then move on to the next. So it's been easy that way, and then we just finished this other band, Cemetery Skyland, and that album comes out in October. But that's so different that it's okay, it's totally different. So, but that's just kind of getting started. We haven't announced the release date yet, and we're going to have our first show in 3 weeks, and I'm kind of nervous and excited about that. So there's a lot of things that goes on. Like, it's one thing to write the songs, right?
Yeah.
And to have fun and just kind of plan things, and then, oh yeah, we need cover artwork, and we need merchandise, and we need crew, and we need flights and buses and everything around that. It's a lot. So just strangely enough, like, I've been doing more office work than I have been doing, touring and recording and writing.
Does that sometimes. Are you the office man? Are you the guy that kind of handles everything for everybody, or is it just
no?
It just fell on you, unfortunately.
No, we have great people and great guys and people that we work with and that work for us that takes care of most things. But at the same time, I don't want to let anything go too much. So I want to double check. It's not a compulsive kind of thing that I have to do, but I still want to be in the loop and make sure that everything is the way I like it to be.
I get that.
So just it's still 2 million emails every day and a lot of meetings and that kind of thing. But it's fun too. Like it's been great. Like, we've managed to find like the best people to work with, and really talented artists and talented promoters and organizers and that kind of stuff. So of course, that of course comes from experience and been around for a long time. We know who we want to work with, and so that makes it easier to start a new band.
Yeah.
It's I get the question like a lot of times. You're like, what do you do like as a new band? Like, what advice would you give a young and upstarting band? It's like, I have no idea. Like,
right.
we started 35 years ago, and when we started the Halo Effect, we sent one song to one guy that we know at Nuclear Blast, and he said yes.
Yeah. I would assume it was an easy sell in general, just like Cemetery is probably an easy sell too. Yeah, we sent a 4-track demo to 5 record labels late one night on tour with Amorphis, and the next day somebody came to me and was like, we have 5 yeses. And, so how do you decide? How do you decide on which one?
Yeah, no, but eventually we did. We just played them out against each other and made sure we got the best deal. So that was easy, but so I don't know how to what to do with a new band. Like, everything is already in place, and it's a lot of people that we worked with for years and years and years. Like, the main guy for Nuclear Blast I've worked with since '99, and Central Media I've been on since '99. So it's so easy to be on those 2 labels.
Yeah, it just comes natural at this point for you all. You know what I mean? You guys have done it so long,
they know what to expect from us, and we know what to expect from them, and yeah.
So how did Cemetery come into, like, obviously you said you were on tour with Amorphis and you're sending off demos and stuff like that, but like, is that something that just happens when you're like, you were on tour, or do you guys talk about this for years and years and years, and finally eventually after a couple of beers you do it like you said earlier? Or
we started talking about it 3.5 years ago, something like that, and we said like, it would be fun to do something together. Marcus and I have been friends for a long time, and he was kind of like, I have this idea to do like this goth rock project, and I think you'd be perfect for it, and maybe it should be kind of like, I think he said like the Night Flight Orchestra of goth. You kind of like not spoofing, but kind of like making, I don't know, like riffing on kind of classic rock or something like that. And I was like, okay, but how do you make fun of goth rock? It's already taking itself so seriously that it just becomes ridiculous, I think. So it took some time before we found the kind of the style or the mood or the vibe of the band. Like, what should it be? Like, what should we sound like? And to get that right took a while. And then actually, it was because of the pandemic that we actually did it. We started writing a lot during that time, and it was out of frustration, of course, because we couldn't see each other, we couldn't hang out, we couldn't tour. So So it was just a matter of like staying home, writing and demoing stuff, but it took a long time, and I think mostly it was because of me and because I couldn't. I had a hard time dealing with the fact that we were going to make a basically a rock album.
Yeah.
I'd never done that before, and it was, the songs were so great, like the music was amazing, and I didn't know how to live up to that. So it took a long time to kind of get over that and kind of like, yeah, well, maybe this is going to be good enough. I don't know if it is still, but now we finished an album, and I love it. I'm really, really proud of it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see if people kind of get it, or understand what we're what we're doing. But it feels good. It's a lot of fun, and it was very challenging, but also one of those things where I felt like I learned a lot from recording it.
Yeah,
writing it.
Yeah, it's a departure from your normal stuff that people have heard you on. But again, it's weird that you are. It's interesting that you say that you were nervous about it, just because, you've had a lot of experience with vocals in many different styles of bands. I mean, though Cemetery is probably not like Hammerfall. Hammerfall is very, vocal driven in general. It's different than like death metal or Swedish death metal, but also you do those things in Dark Tranquillity as well as the Halo Effect and everything. So it's weird that you would have that like kind of doubt at this particular point in the game.
This is kind of like 12 songs, and like no, it's easy to do like a chorus, in a death metal track. You're screaming your verse, and then you do a chorus, and no matter what it is, as long as it's melodic, it will stand out. Whereas a normal rock song is just basically 3 chords, and then you have to make like just like a regular song basically. And the whole idea of when you started a death metal band or a thrash band or something like that is that you can write riffs, but maybe not necessarily songs. But
yeah, true.
I think we've all kind of learned that. So it was and the way that Marcus and Santeri writes, it's just amazing, I think. So it was kind of up to me to screw it up. That's the way I felt.
That's how I feel about everything that I do here. It's my job to screw it up, probably. How did you guys select all the members for Skyline or Cemetery Skyline? Like, obviously you're friends with your. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're friends with
Marcus and Santeri they decided to kind of start it, and then they talked to Adrian Erlandsson, who plays with the Haunted and At the Gates, and they decided to kind of do something. Then they decided to ask me, and then I said, okay, maybe. And then turns out like Adrian didn't have time, so we needed a drummer, and then we all kind of thought of Vesa, because Vesa is fantastic, and we've known him forever, and I toured with Sentenced a lot back in the day, so that was easy, and he was on board. Then we talked about bass players, and of course my friend Victor, who lives a couple of houses away from me. He's always frustrated because he wants to tour more than some of his bandmates does. So he was kind of like, yeah, I'm up for anything. If you have a project, just tell me, I'll join you. So I sent him a couple of songs, and it's like, would this be cool? And he was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So easy.
That must be an awesome street to live on. You got you're there, the guy Dimmu Borgir guy's there. It's got to be a weird street to live on, for the other people.
No, it's pretty nice. There's a very cool venue, nice brewery on the street as well, and Alex from Grand Cadaver, he lives 2 houses away, so it's easy. We get a lot of shit done.
Yeah, I would assume so. It's walking distance from each other.
Yeah. Gothenburg's not that big, everything is walking distance here.
Nice. Well, I live in the second biggest landmass city in the world, so everything's not walking distance. Yeah, Jacksonville is quite large in area. And we don't have
I have relatives in Jacksonville, I know.
Oh, you do, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. So do you ever come here as a vacation or?
No, unfortunately not. They come here, but I would assume so. But I've been to Jacksonville, of course, a few times.
Nice. Well,
mostly parking lots and Walmarts, but still.
Yeah, we got a bunch of those, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah. You're a busy man. Busy man doing all these projects. What do you do in your free time when you're not writing music, performing music, or is it all music in your head? Do you always spend time doing something in music, or do you take a break from it?
No, it's a lot of that, of course. And like my girlfriend and my daughter says, like you never not at work.
Mm.
Like that's true. So sometimes I need to do something else, and then no. But I spend a lot of time with family and friends around here, of course. Most of them are somewhat connected to music.
Yeah.
That or I play video games, or all that kind of stuff that kind of takes your mind off of things. But it's yeah, music becomes everything, and but I'm fine with it.
It's not a
Everyone I
horrible
know,
thing.
kind of pretty much all my friends are in some band in one capacity or another.
Yeah, for
It's
sure. What game?
become
What
like
what
that.
kind of video games do you like to play, or are you playing anything currently that sparks your interest?
Well, I play a lot actually. I try everything that comes out. I'm just curious, and I've been a gamer since I was 14,
Okay,
15,
interesting. Yeah.
something like that. Um,
PC or
the
console, or what do you play mostly on?
everything.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Mostly PC actually. I like it. Play a lot of racing games, and of course role playing games,
Mm-hmm.
adventures, everything I can get my hands on. I have like a cool sponsorship deal with a publisher that I get a lot of games with, and I don't have enough time. I wish I had, you know, 48 hours and 24 hours, so I
Right,
can
I understand that. Do you
gaming a lot more.
you say you like racing? Do you like? Are you a Gran Turismo guy, or is it like a Formula One situation, or Forza?
It's mostly for Formula One.
I
Forza I
figured
like
Formula
as
One
well.
being in Europe. Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, a set of course I love, and so I always been into it, but it comes up and down. But right now I'm super into it, just because I don't know, like it just hooked in me. But it's frustrating, and of course I play a lot on tour as well, like bring my PS5 or whatever.
Mm.
But I like just PC where you can do anything, and
Yeah.
play everything.
Do you have like a racing setup, like a simulator setup, or do you have a stick, or do you use a controller? Or yeah, okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Do you
yeah.
stream? Do you stream any of this stuff? Because you seem to have a whole setup here.
I used to, like a couple of years ago, but I don't know. It's not really my thing.
Hmm.
Like I did a lot of kind of promotional things with for one album, and so we streamed a lot, like played Call of Duty and
Mm.
Destiny and games like that together. But I don't know, like it's not my thing. Like
Yeah, my
gaming is kind of like not a personal thing, but I like to do it alone.
I
It's
feel
kind
you.
of like just head into it, be totally focused, and that's how yeah,
Well,
I love
it's
that.
your escape, from the day to
Yeah,
day
it
music life.
really it
Yeah.
really is, like just put headphones on and just like get away with it and don't think about anything else, and that's what I love that.
I'm the worst player. I'm the worst teammate, I should say, in Call of Duty because I recently got
Okay.
back into it. I don't like to communicate with anybody that's not in my like I know. So
Yeah,
I'm not talking to random people because I
yeah,
grew up doing that. I grew up
yeah,
when the live playing on Xbox and PlayStation started,
yeah,
and I did it then. But it was very weird, and now that I'm older,
yeah.
I'm definitely not going to do it. But I appreciate the people that do it, and
Oh
they help
yeah,
out.
I
But
love
I
it.
can't
I
do
wish
it.
I could, but I have a hard time finding that time to kind of match up with other people at the same time. Like, okay, now we're gonna go out and play together. I play with Jesper sometimes, especially Call of Duty, but he's always online, so I can just like jump in and go like, hey, let's do
Yeah.
it. You know. But other than that, it's like whenever I have some free time late at night, it's like, oh, now I just want, headphones on, disappear into a gaming world,
Hmm.
and before I go to bed, and that's I love it. But yeah, I have so many games that I just haven't finished.
Yeah, same. I recently got back into gaming, probably December of last year.
All right.
I had taken a big break because
Ooh.
I was obsessed with like Call of Duty. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
2017 was like my PlayStation 3 or 4 at the time. Kind of bit the dust, and I said no more.
Uh,
I need to
Oof.
focus my time on something else.
Must be rough.
But here we are back again. I am better at it
Yeah,
now. I can go
yeah,
once or twice a week and play it whenever I want. But
yeah.
yeah, I definitely got back into Call of Duty, and that's an addiction. But then I also picked
Yeah.
up Gran Turismo in this recent cycle. So now I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, ooh, do I get a simulator seat? Do I get a steering wheel? Like, do I, because I got
It
really
does
into
help.
it. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
No, it's wonderful, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's
It's a good escape, though. You know, you can go
yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah.
I'm the same way with you. I
It's the
at
best.
night, it's just I zone out. Everyone goes to bed, and I'm like, all right, my time.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated with games, like just how things have happened over the years and how things are just improving. And I know people in the industry who make these some incredible worlds, and I'm constantly in awe of it, and how just when you thought you've seen it all and it's like it cannot get any better than this, and then a new game comes out and you're
Yeah.
like, what just happened? Like it's insane. I started out with a CX Spectrum was my first computer. Like my friend who actually now lives in Jacksonville, her dad was worked for NASA, so
Mm.
they had like the latest stuff, and they lived in England at the time, so they came over every summer, and they had computers that wasn't even available in Sweden at all, and I could try out the latest, coolest games, which was, monochrome
Mm. Yeah.
screen and stuff like that. But it was still like the coolest thing in the world. And if you just, if you squint your eyes just right, it looks almost photo real.
Right.
You
Well, I mean,
thought,
the thing is, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's funny you bring that up. Like, graphics have always been awesome. It's only when you
yeah,
look back on it, like now we
yeah,
can look back on graphics from the '90s or '80s,
yeah,
and they're dog shit, compared to now.
yeah,
But there were some games in the '90s and 2000s, like on those. I'm referring to like console gaming because I didn't really
yeah,
PC game, but like on the
yeah,
console, you're like, oh my god, like at the time you're like, this is so realistic, and now you go back to
yeah.
PlayStation 1 or 2, and it's like, what were we thinking? You know what I mean?
And then you play like the remake of, Resident Evil 4 or something like that, and you go like, yeah, this is exactly how I remember it.
No, it's
And
not.
then you look at the original and you realize that was just horrible.
I
Yeah,
also am a Resident Evil person. I got really into the series, not when it first came out, but later in life, I definitely went
yeah.
through, and I'm currently going through trying to play them again and beat them all in order. But
And the remakes.
yeah, we got a remake.
Yeah,
We have
yeah,
four for I have like the 0 and 1. There's a
yeah.
combination of 0 and 1, and then we have the remake of 4, and
Yeah.
I just got to go
It's
down the line.
amazing. It's amazing to go back to. I really loved. I've loved playing the third and fourth, and I think they're amazing still. And like those all the tweaks to the gameplay and of course graphics is insane. I'm
Yeah.
super super cool. Super impressed.
Well, Michael, we can talk video games all day, but I've kept you almost
I
an
know.
hour, and I know you've been doing this all day, so I'll cut you loose. But I greatly appreciate your time today. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we're good. I think we're going to catch you in Orlando, not
Oh, cool.
September. So
Yeah,
we'll catch you there in Orlando at the venue, and yeah,
yeah.
best of luck. I can't wait for the
Yeah.
Halo effect to come back out. And oh, one last question: is there going to be a rooftop performance again for this album? Because
Ooh,
that was a good one for the
we
last one.
should. That was cool. We haven't talked about it, but we should.
Yeah,
Maybe or we figure something else. Maybe play at the brewery or something like that. Do something.
yeah.
We should. We should for sure.
Well, I'm
But
glad I
yeah,
planted that seed. I'm glad I planted that seed.
time is the hardest currency now because damn, it's hard to get us all in a room together.
No, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
Especially what guys are you talking about? There's so many other guys. You have 20 guys in your wheelhouse that you can jam with.
Yeah. But this is easy, like everybody knows. But for Halo Effect, it's harder. But just like we need to do a photo session. Holy shit, that takes weeks. But yeah,
Cool. Well, Michael, again, I appreciate it. In Time Signals, August 16th through Century Media.
yes,
Halo
yeah.
Effect is about to be recorded, or not recorded. I guess it's almost kind of done. Some songs can be expected
Everything's
later in the
done.
year. Yeah,
It's all done.
awesome.
It's just marinating before it's released.
Early next year release, but then you have some singles
Yes.
coming out in September, so everyone can look forward to that.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate your time. Best of luck
Hey,
with everything.
thank
We'll
you.
see you soon.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Take it easy.